Welcome back to Views with Hughes, your Jennifer News. This is Jerome Hughes, and if you haven't done so already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, click the bell notification, so that way you'll be notified of future uploads and updates. So this is coming in from Bounding Into Comics, where it says legendary DC Comics writer Chuck Dixon reacts to James Gunn's DCU Slate, where he says, I don't think he knows what the audience wants. So this is going to be coming from when James Gunn announced the slate of the DCU future. And I'm going to be honest with you, when I first watched it myself, I was disappointed. You know, not necessarily because of the fact that it has featured things that I'm not familiar with as far as the DC comics is concerned, but at the same time, it's basically going on with the stories that he wants to tell. Okay. So, and it's like from the different audience reactions and everything, like even on social media, a lot of people are upset about it. Not just Snyder fans and stuff. I'm talking about those who actually were cheering for him when he was announced to be the next CEO of DC Films. Not CEO, the next head of DC Films. It says here that legendary DC Comics writer Chuck Dixon, who created Batman villain Bane alongside Graham Nolan and rejuvenated Firefly, shared his thoughts on James Gunn's upcoming DCU slate. And Dixon shared his thoughts during the episode 130 of Ask Chuck Dixon on his YouTube channel, where he was asked by Eric Morin, James Gunn has announced his slate of movies and TV shows. What do you think about what's coming up? So he replied, well, it looks like a mixed bag to me. I got to wonder if Gunn's proposed list is for real. Is it a wish list, or are these things actually going to be put on the schedule? It seems like an ambitious list. Seems like a lot of stuff. It seems like he's going to be writing a lot of it. I mean, if he writes all the things he says he's going to write, he's not going to be leaving the house anytime soon. In other words, the public's going to hate it. There's been a lot of pushback from it, just like it was when it was announced that Henry Cavill was no longer returning as Superman. Okay. So it's going to be like that, if not worse. Okay. He also went on to say, but I got to wonder, is this just up high in the sky? Is this just a wish list? He reiterated. So Dixon continued, some of the things seemed extremely overwhelming. Some of the things seem to exist only to check boxes. Quite frankly, I don't care. I know you don't want to hear that, but I don't care. It seems to me like he knows what the audience wants because of the fact that a lot of us really don't care. Now, granted, there's like a good number of people out there who is curious and wants to support James Gunn and go ahead and see what he has to offer. Even some YouTubers out there who are fangirling over him as well. But it comes down to the fact that a lot of people reacted to that they're afraid of how he's going to tell the stories, okay? Because of the fact that he's erasing and resetting the whole DC slate and erasing the SnyderVerse, all right? So he says, I've never seen a DC-based movie that I've liked ever, and I don't think I ever see one. So in other words, he doesn't like the way that the films are turning out to be when it comes down to his works. He's just not interested in it. But he is stating something that's obviously true in the fact that the fans won't like it. And now that they've moved far away from the source material that we agree, I really just have no interest, he says. So because of the fact that they're not telling the stories that were in the comics, that's created in the comics. All right. And it goes on to say that Dixon then pivoted to wondering why James Gunn was picked to be the DC Studio CEO. The choice of Gunn is to basically be the basket they put all their eggs in. I don't understand it. Given his track record, that is true because of the fact that even though he has success with Guardians of the Galaxy, but then you look at the rest of the films, it's like, meh at best or okay. He said that, you know, they earned money and they weren't blockbusters. They weren't huge. Really, the only big thing he was involved in was Guardians of the Galaxy franchise, which is tied to Marvel. And Dixon then opined, while I find a lot of his stuff entertaining over the time, you'll kind of see the notes coming. I'm kind of familiar with his repertoire. I don't see how it's going to translate to DC, and I don't understand why an industry like entertainment, where everything is about conversation of risk, you would hand over everything to one guy. So in other words, James Gunn is afraid to fail. That's what it is. I mean, that's what it all comes down to because of the fact that he wants to go ahead and create his own vision of things and everything instead of going a bit further and stuff, taking the things that were given out there before and then going ahead and then get it back to the source material. But the problem is he went ahead and canceled that slate to introduce a new restart, if you will, or reboot, okay? Which is something that a lot of people don't want. He also wanted to say, now I understand that there's other films that in production that he won't be involved with, but the idea is, as I see it, is that once all those films are finished and release, everything coming out of DC in movies and television is going to be Gunn all the time. I just don't see how you can take a slate like that and have any hits. There's no diversity of thought or approach. Everything is going to be seen through the lens of one guy, and that is definitely true. That's what the very thing that I thought of as well, because of the fact that at this point, it seems to me like it might be, it's whatever he and Peter Safran says goes. All right. So in other words, David Zaslav has definitely found his Kevin Feige, and his name is James Gunn, except for the fact that he's going to tell the stories about the different characters and the types of Superman characters people don't really care about. For some reason, I don't think James Gunn is a Louis B. Mayer, Dixon points positive. I don't think he knows what the audience wants. Dixon then pointed out how much of Gunn's slate appears to be based on newer comics rather than the core DC stories. Definitely just like Kevin Feige, because of the fact that, as we remember, Kevin Feige put out there the Marvel content with the characters that didn't work in the comics. Which comics are those? The newer ones. Just like Ironheart, She-Hulk, well, not She-Hulk, Miss Marvel, the Hawkeye as well. And it's like, makes me wonder, any of us wonder if they actually know what they're doing. Okay. The other thing I find perplexing is that so much of his new material is going to be based on the village new comics that appeared over the last decade or so. These are not core basic DC properties or DC stories. In other words, they're not canon. He continued, these are like recent robots, reiterations or reimaginings, fan fiction, if you will. And that's fine, except they're not comics that sold particularly well. They're not record breakers. They might have been among the best-selling things at DC, but that's kind of like saying, well, this turtle came in first in the turtle race. It's not going back to the classic material. It's also not going back to material that I think is going to find a universal audience. So for me, it's both concerning and I don't care. I really don't care, he concluded. So James Gunn did also try to push back on criticism that his DCU slate would be the Gunverse, while speaking about his DCU slate with the Hollywood Reporter. It's not the Gunverse. It's not. Seems to me it might be. I mean, I'm just putting that out there. I'm being honest right now. It's got to be all these different feels from all these different stories. That's what makes it so fun. The stories are completely different, and each has the individual expression of the writers and the director that are making those projects. We don't want the expression of the director or the writer. We want from the films and stuff. We want the expression from those who made the comics. At least make it something just as decent as that, instead of the newest characters or the recent characters. There's hundreds, if not thousands, of other stories from the comics that could be told, but no, he chose the newer ones that he feels will work. However, he then hears we're not stupid. Not every filmmaker is going to be happy, because if someone is doing something that isn't working, we're going to be honest. And here's the thing, though. If you follow me on Twitter, you also know how I feel about that statement that he's made. The fact that he said not everyone's going to like it is a bit of an understatement. He's made an enemy out of a lot of fans right now. So Dixon is still currently churning out comics as well as novels. He's actively publishing new Conan series on Archive. He also has a number of ongoing comic book series, such as the science fiction story Something Big, as well as the superhero story My Sister Suprema. A collective version of his Avalon series is now available to purchase. So now we see that somebody who actually created the stories and the as well as the background of the characters is actually saying what the fans have been thinking. Not all the fans, but a good number of them. Okay. So, what does this mean for James Gunn? I mean, might not mean much because of the fact that this is a DC Comics creator, and quite frankly, his opinion may not be valued by him or anybody that James Gunn chooses to work with. But at least he's speaking for the fans. So let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. Also, if you find that I went wrong anywhere in the video, go ahead and leave the correction in the comments below. Also, comment any additional thoughts that you might have to add to this that I might not have brought up. And also, if you enjoy what I shared in this video, go ahead and smash that like button and share it everywhere far and wide across social media. And if you enjoyed all the content I put out there, go ahead and subscribe to this channel, click the bell notification, so that way you'll be notified of future uploads and updates. Until then, peace.